Okay, hello guys. Welcome and thanks for joining in for the first webinar of the series of webinars that we will be organizing throughout this Confluence. I am Shakun, the co-founder at iSTEM, and along with me today, I'm joined with Sandeep. So Sandeep is currently working with Norton LifeLaw as a senior principal software engineer. He specializes on distributed system and cloud on Azure and AWS. So more we will hear from him, Sandeep. Sandeep, thanks so much for taking out the time and welcome on the iSTEM webinar series.
Thank you.
Okay, nice. So let's get started. So Sandeep, why don't you start telling us about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Sandeep. I was born in Kolkata. I grew up in Gujarat. I started my career in Chennai and then I moved to Pune.
Wow.
And now, with the work from home situation, I'm back to my hometown Somnath. So it's the famous temple Somnath is situated very close to my home. And I have a beach that is just a 5 minutes walk from my home. And it is a very isolated beach on big days.
Mhm.
On the professional front, I currently work with Northern LifeLaw as a senior principal engineer. So I design, architect, and develop and work on distributed systems and NoSQL databases. Before working with Norton, I was working with SCL, and before that, I used to make banking software at Leisuresoft Infosystems.
Right.
So Leisuresoft is where I started my career, and it was an amazing company. And I used to write, the cash, the balance inquiry, cash withdrawal, all sort of ATM transactions. So I used to write programming for that. And then I have also been an active Toastmaster. And in my current organization, I have founded an employee resource group for people with disabilities. So we work and support people with all kinds of disabilities, whether visible or invisible. And it has been very challenging to work on that.
Right.
And in the last year, I had the good fortune to meet Karthik, Sakul, Paras, everyone at ISTEM. And last year's hackathon was a very wonderful learning experience for me. The inclusion which is practiced at ISTEM is truly awesome. Thank you.
I see. Cheryl, you wanted to say something?
No, no.
Okay. Yeah, thanks so much for your introduction, Sandeep. We would like to hear more about, let's go on your childhood days, right? And talk through us your school days and how you introduced with software engineering. I mean, forget software engineering, technology for that front. Huh? When did you realize that you wanted to pursue technology or computer science in your career, and why did you do so? What encouraged you to do so?
So when I was around 7 years old, I got affected with a very high fever, and that fever impacted my eyes and ears. So overnight, I got very high power in the eyes, and slowly I began to lose my ability to hear.
Right.
So since my eyes began to twist, oh, since my eyes began to twist, my mom took me to a doctor, and suddenly I found I have very high power in the eyes. But for the hearing loss was so gradual, so slow, and it would increase it year by year that no doctor could find out.
Right.
By the time a doctor successfully diagnosed that I have a sensory neural hearing loss which is incurable, it was too late. It was too late, and I was in class 10.
I
And
see.
it was the doctor who told me that Sandeep, you are doing lip reading. So lip reading is the art of following what others speak by reading the lip movements. So I rely entirely on lip reading now. So how I learned lip reading? So like I was very naughty boy in school, but I used to be very good in studies. So since I was very naughty, the teacher to keep an eye on me. The teachers used to make me sit on the front row next to a girl.
Very
So
nice.
I am unfortunate that in my entire school life, I never had the chance to be a backbencher.
I was
Always
always one.
backbencher, and always had to sit next to a girl who was the class monitor, so that she could keep an eye on me.
I
Now,
see.
whatever, so the positive side of this was that because I sat on the first row, I began to lip read on my own without even being aware that I am lip reading. I had no idea I began lip reading. As my hearing problem manifested in class 8, class 9, and class 10, I learned the art of lip reading on my own.
Right.
And it was when I went to a doctor that the doctor told me that Sandeep, you are lip reading. I had no idea of the term of lip reading or whether such a term existed. When I was in school, there was no Google around. Our mom, our parents were the only Googlers we knew.
Nice.
And so when I was in class 11, I got two pocket-sized hearing aids. And then on the first day of school, almost the entire school stopped to look at me. Like, what is this? So
Right.
class 11 and class 12, I did not have a problem. I had
Right.
private tutors, and so the present was easy. And also I knew my teachers beforehand.
Right.
So after completing class 12, I actually wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
Uh, I very much admire doctors. You know, in the COVID time, we owe so much to the doctors who
Right.
risk their life day and night to save us.
Right.
So I was so much wanted to be a doctor, but I just wasn't confident that with my hearing impairment, with my inability to follow up what people are speaking of, I would make a good doctor or not, or what if I end up harming a patient or something.
Right.
So that sort of there are times when I felt very confident, and then there are times when I felt extremely underconfident, extremely depressed. To me, life is a sine curve. You have good days, you have bad days, you have
Right.
confident days, you have underconfident days.
Right.
And so my cousin at that time, he was working in computer engineering as a software engineer, and he was like, Sandeep, why don't you work on computers? At least you don't have to talk to computer, you won't have to talk to people, and
Right.
so your communication problem will not be it will not be a hindrance. And so I took admission in electronics engineering in an open category without using my disability certificate entirely on
Very
merit.
nice.
And engineering, it was a nightmare to follow my professors.
Okay.
So, so that's how I ended up. So that's how I ended up being an electronics engineer. And then I went into the software stream for my career.
Thank you so much. And I think you are one of the courageous student who I believe took PCMB, is it, in the schools? Did you take biology and mathematics together in class 12, 11th and 12th?
Yes, yes, we had biology, maths, and physics. And so I loved physics. I
I
nearly
see.
had, I nearly had a centum in physics. And so
Right.
I went to electronics because I wanted to be close to physics.
Right, right, right. And very few people can actually, do that because when you take all four subjects, it anyway become so difficult to manage with. So glad that you did it. I wouldn't have done that had I been at your place.
It's okay. Necessity is the mother of invention.
That's for sure, for sure. So, Sandeep, let's talk about the kind of challenges that you face. Be it in your school size or your college. Uh, just talk through us that in your school and in college as well, did you feel included with the fellow students or teachers or professors? What did they think as someone who cannot hear being with this with themselves, right? Did there was there any of situation where you felt excluded amongst your peers in your college and school as well?
Sure. So my hearing problem manifested in class 10. But since I had tuitions and since I come from a small place, one batch of tuition students is around 10 to 12 students. So it's not that hard. And I used to sit as close to the teacher. And that I knew my teachers were liberating known people is easy. But liberating unknown people becomes harder. Also in school, as soon as I discovered my problem, I used to believe a lot in Swami Vivekananda. And so it was always arise, awake, and stop not till your goal is reached. So when I discovered my problem, I don't think I ever cried. I ever got disappointed. My mom was very.
I don't know, is it for me or for everyone else, but I cannot hear Sandeep. Can you guys hear him?
No, we can't hear him.
Sandeep, you are not
No,
audible.
I stopped it. I stopped because I heard noises. I stopped.
Okay.
Shakul, there's background noise on your end. Can you mute yourself as Sandeep is speaking?
Just one second.
Sandeep, you can go ahead. Sandeep?
Sorry, there was some commotion outside and a lot of noise was coming.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
So when I was in school, what I will do is like if in a tuition I know that the teacher is going to teach this topic today, so I would read 4 pages before the tuition itself. So I know that the teacher is going to teach this, so I would read it beforehand. So I would get familiar with what the teacher is going to speak. So it became easier to liberate. And in school, I was a class topper in school, and even in my entire town. So I used to actually help all my friends. All my friends have helped throughout my school life. But when I came to college, it was a very different experience. Because in college, it was a class of 100 students, and the professor used to be a little farther from the first bench, and it was very, very hard to liberate in college. And I went to my principal and I told my principal that I'm going to fail, that I was a topper here and I'm going to fail. I need tuitions. I can't survive here. And the principal was like, if you can't survive here, you can leave the college. I cannot give you tuition and I'll not allow tuition because if I allow tuition, then the name of the college becomes spoiled. They will stop teaching in the college if everyone starts going to tuition. So I begged and requested him, but no. And then I found some truly amazing friends in college. I survived on college only due to my truly amazing friends. So like I helped all my friends in my school time, and then karma helped me back when I was in college. So much help I got from my friends that I have no words to describe that. I'm infinitely grateful to them. And but college was a struggle, but it was lot of hard work, lot of hours spent. And then when I finished my engineering, I think 1 or 2 companies came for campus. And then they were like, how would you talk on the phone? So since I cannot, in phone it is not possible to lip read. Okay, in phone you cannot see the lips of the person. So I cannot follow what is being spoken over phone. I could never talk on phone. And they were like, how will you talk? How will you communicate with people? So everyone was like, Sandeep, you show a lot of promise, but everyone always had a if and but. And so after completing my engineering, the very next day, I came back to my hometown, and then I started teaching physics. I love the subject, and I had nearly a centum in class 12. And then there were a bunch of students who were looking for a teacher. So my teacher was teaching physics, had left the town. And so I stepped in and I began teaching physics. So I began with I began with 8 students of class 11, and 1 year later, I had 83 students. And it was so amazing. I loved the subject. I taught them passionately, and the students loved me back. And it was truly an awesome experience. But I was keen to have a corporate career. So after teaching physics for 2 years, I packed my bag. And from the Arabian Sea, I went all the way to the Bay of Bengal in Chennai. So Chennai is a city with warm, very warm people, very nice people, and an even warmer climate. So there are only 2 seasons in Chennai. One is hot and another is very, very hot. And so I began my career there with LaserSoft. So LaserSoft was a company that was so inclusive. It did not have in the website that we are equal opportunity employer, but it was truly, totally equal. And there I began to learn programming. I started with COBOL, and then I moved to VB, then I moved to Oracle, then I moved to Java, C++. So I have coded in nearly a dozen languages. And I owe my career to my manager there, who just lifted up me with both hands and pushed me out. He sent me to my current places, domestic, international side. I learned how to talk to customers, went to international banks, and everything that I am, I owe to that company. I stayed there for 6 years, and it was the golden phase of my career.
Really nice hearing all this, Sandeep. Thank you so much. I mean, by your experience, I think we all need to put some more effort, like, in what we are doing in our day-to-day life.
Okay. So in my day-to-day life, I manage a huge distributed system on the Microsoft Azure data platform. So I have built a huge stack. It's a pipeline consisting of Kafka and Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. So that's a huge pipeline that I have built. And my customers are the internal teams within Symantec. They use the platform and then they come to me for issues. And my day-to-day job involves, so 30% of my day-to-day job involves coding. So 30% is in coding, and the rest of the time is in architecting, and it is in optimizing cost. Like for example, the last 3 months I was working on saving the cost of the component and yet increasing the performance. So my day-to-day work involves that. It is in architecting systems.
So, Sandeep, another thing that I just want to understand is what were the different resources that you used throughout, your journey? Like resources in terms of assistive technology, or something that you thought that helped you a little more in your school, colleges, or even at your workplace?
So in so school life, I was fairly independent in my school life, but college life, I was entirely dependent on my friends. And now in my class in college, so there were around 100 or maybe 90 to 100 students, and then there were only 13 girls, and the rest were boys. And the 13 girls used to sit on the front row. And so I was very scared to sit on the front row because the front row would be girls, the second row would be left blank, and then I would sit on the third row, and it was hard for me to liberate from the third row because I have high power in the head. And so I wanted to sit on the first row, but I was too scared. And so one day I just went and sat in the center, and then all the girls were shocked, like, why is this guy sitting in the center? But then they all became friends. So it was like a Krishna, one boy and 13 girls in the first row with Krishna and Gopi. The whole class laughed. But the girl who used to sit next to me in college was a topper, and I used to write from her. So I relied entirely on her notes, and those notes helped me to convert an F grade to an A grade.
Yeah, I see.
So,
And yeah, go on.
So before technology became advanced, I just had to rely on friends. And then when I went to meetings, conferences, workshops, always somebody would transcribe for me. And when I was in college, I used to dream that what if a device existed, that whenever some people spoke something and I could see it come in, I could see the speech converted into text. At one point in my career, I even tried to build a small software that would convert speech into text, but it wasn't accurate, and I failed miserably at creating it. But a year and a half back, it was on December 2019, I got my wings to fly. That time I came to know of an app called as Portability AI. And even now I'm using that. So in this case, in Zoom, the auto app is showing the caption. And so with that app, I get speech to text in real time. And it allowed me to be fairly independent, like attending this meeting. So whatever Sakul is speaking, I'm reading the captions and following what he is speaking.
Right, right.
So other than this, I haven't made use of any technology apart from having a programmable hearing aid. And those are really very good. But in the last 2 years, and even now, like Google has a Pixel phone. So the advantage of that Google Pixel phone is that if you make a normal phone call to someone and in English, you still get captions on a normal phone call as well.
I see.
So that is truly amazing. If you're thinking of buying a phone, buy Pixel 4 or 5. It's truly a wonderful phone for people with hearing impairment. Google is awesome when it comes to accessibility.
So, given the advancement in AI, then what's your expectation that what is something that needs to improve so that life of people with hearing impairment can improve, and where are we standing right now?
Okay. One feedback I have is that no speech-to-text software is 100% accurate. Even now, the captions are not accurate. And what Sakul is speaking, that is coming accurately, but what I'm speaking is not coming accurately. So because probably my voice is a bit different, so the thing is that if software is not accurate, the only way to make AI-based models better is to train them more and more. I find that a lot of deaf people, a lot of hard of hearing people say, come on, this software is not working, and they stop using it. That is not the right way. So the more you train the model, the more the model gets better. Like when I was using Auto, when I started using Auto was on only 60 to 70% accurate.
Right.
But now it has become more than 95% accurate, except for some essence. So to the people who are making use of the AI software, if it is not working, give feedback, but use it. If you stop using it, the model cannot get trained, and if the model does not get trained, it has no way to get better.
Right. Right.
Also, the more people use it, the more the model has a chance of being better.
Right. Right. So, my question was, what is something that you'd like to see AI doing for you in the future? Rather than improving captioning, what else is in your mind that you'd like to see?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure how to answer that honestly, but I was kind of something thinking like currently, like when you are currently, for example, like the Zoom has integrated auto captioning, but a lot of Zoom clients and a lot of places captioning is blocked under corporate level or something for security settings. So I was just wondering that, like I carry my mobile and then see the captions there. So what would help is something like a Google Glass with inbuilt captioning or something. So like whatever is speaking like that, I'm still looking at you. For example, what you are speaking now, I have to look at the phone. So like if you are speaking something, suppose I look at the phone and understand what you are speaking and then I look at you. So I was thinking that if I have a transparent Google Glass, something like that. So when I'm just looking at you and still in my mind's eye, I can read the captions or something like that. That will be very cool. Also, a lot of people with hearing impairment are not able to speak well. They struggle with speaking. So if there is something like a text-to-speech on advanced text-to-speech, which they can type or which they can speak very, which if they type or something and it converts that to spoken word, it's very good.
Right, right. Got it. Got it. Thanks so much for that. Let's talk about again the employment opportunity. Right, you briefly talked about your experience at Leisuresoft, and then right now you are working with Semantic. My first question would be around, it's very normal in India for people with disability, right? They don't really find job so easily. It's hard to find job for anyone. And when you have disability, it becomes even more hard to get a job. So how did you find a company which was inclusive in nature, and what was the thought process over there? And did you have to struggle at all to land your first job at Leathersoft? Leathersoft, sorry.
So, to, so suppose you hit the bullseye when you said that it is even more harder for people with disabilities to find a job. So I remember when after completing my engineering, I was doing tuition and I was successful, but I was yearning for a corporate job. I tried a few employers and almost everyone would tell me that equal opportunity employer. But very few really gave me the chance other than Leisuresoft, my first company.
Right.
So for the people with disabilities, it is much harder and what's the hardest part is entering the ecosystem. From the engineering, when you complete your education and when you want to enter a workplace, that entering is the hardest part. Once you enter, you can find your way. With hard work, with smart work, you can always find your way out. But how do you enter? Because nobody is willing to give you a chance.
Right.
Now, inclusion is the buzzword. Everyone you meet is talking of inclusion. Even if they don't practice it as a mere lip service, everyone is talking of inclusion. But when I was trying to get a job, inclusion wasn't a buzzword. It was not even existing. So like my Leisuresoft was really inclusive because of his CEO, Suresh Kamath. So the Leisuresoft info system does not exist now. It is marked with Polaris. But Mr. Kamath has created another startup in Chennai. It's called the Pattern Software Institute.
I see.
And Mr. Kamath passed out from IIT Chennai with a gold medal and was passionate about hiring people with disabilities. So I was really fortunate that I met the best person I could ever to meet. And in Leisuresoft, I saw project managers who would walk on four hands. So there were people who had all sorts of disabilities, people who couldn't move their hands like anything, and that they would crawl on the floor, and still they were senior project managers. So the level of inclusion, the level of respect that I saw at Leisuresoft, there was no work, there were no quotations, there was no big talk, there was only inclusion and practice. And so
Nice.
that is why I learned inclusion. But outside the world, after 6 years at Leisuresoft, I thought, no, I want to move out. And so I and my roommate, we both made our Naukri.com profile.
Right.
So my profile, everyone would say your profile is so impressive. So whenever I would get a call, I would take the phone to my friend, I would take the mobile to my roommate, and my roommate would talk on my behalf. The Sandeep is having hearing impairment, and I'm talking on his behalf. So the other would say, oh, your CV is so impressive, we will get back to you. They never got back.
Right.
So my friend, he had a lesser experience than me and still found a job. And I did not even have an interview scheduled. And my friend was about to leave Chennai and there was just 1 week remaining. And I panicked that once my friend leaves, who will handle calls on my behalf?
Right.
And so we came up with an idea. In the Naukri.com profile, in my profile, I put my friend's mobile number so that if anybody calls, the call would go to him, not to me.
Right.
And then I wrote my experience and everything on a small sheet of paper and I gave it to my friend. And my friend would keep that paper in his wallet. So whenever anybody in HR call and say Sandeep, he would say, yes, I'm Sandeep speaking. He would take out the sheet of paper and read all the experience, the projects and all.
Right.
I didn't work like a charm. I hid my disability from the recruiter. And so that way, an interview in Symantec cost you. So the Symantec HR had no idea that I'm a person with disability that I have bearing impairment.
Right.
And so that way my friend talked on my behalf and my first round of interview was scheduled. And the HR would call him, that Sunday, HR would call him and say, Sandeep, go to first floor. And my friend would text me and say, Sandeep, go to first floor, go to second floor. So like that, 4 rounds of interview passed and I did very well. So I'll tell the interviewer, sir, I have a hearing impairment. Sir, please write on paper or write on a whiteboard. But after 4 rounds, my friend got called to a meeting suddenly. And the HR began calling him. He couldn't pick up the phone. And I was waiting for the 5th round of interview in the cafeteria.
Right.
HR came and said, Sandeep, you are in the cafeteria? I have been calling you since so long. And the same moment, my friend came out of the meeting and called the HR and said, Sir, Sandeep speaking, which floor I need to go? The HR was like, the person on the phone is Sandeep and the person in front of me is Sandeep. Who is Sandeep? What is going on? And I said, sorry, sir, I am the real Sandeep. I am the one who is doing all the interviews. So the person on the phone, the person on the phone is my friend. He is pretending to be me only to facilitate the interview because none of you are willing to give us people a chance. And the HR was like, I'm truly sorry. We are more than open to hire people with disabilities. So you don't need to worry. You go and attend the interview. If you have any problem, please come and tell me. So that's how you drive inclusion is. See, the world always had a lot of good people. If there are no good and no inclusive people in the world would have ended all long back. But the world is going on, the world is alive. It means there are really good people around. So there are many inclusive people. So you don't complain that the whole world is uninclusive. Even if you find one inclusive person, you start and drive inclusion. So when I got into Symantec, it's not like Symantec was totally inclusive. There were so many non-inclusive practices. And I emailed my CEO, I emailed my manager, and step by step began working on driving inclusion. So there's nothing like an inclusive people, inclusive culture. If it is there, very good. If it is not there, you go and build one. You are there, you can always go and create something. It is up to you to drive inclusion. But always believe and have faith that people are inherently good. It is how you make them feel that matters. If you make people feel good, they will automatically try to be inclusive.
So nice to hear your experience, Sandeep. Since we are discussing about all this, and you just told us about your management and how they started, practicing inclusion. Talk us through your, fellow employees or your colleagues at office. How good were they with you, or there was some level of difficulty in all of the countries that you worked for?
When I began working in Symantec, it was really very difficult because technology-wise, what I was working on in my previous company and what I was working on in Symantec was very different. So technologically, I was struggling, and then there were meetings, and everyone would speak, and I was just not following what was going on in the meeting. My manager was very kind. He had told me, Sandeep, whatever problems you have to come and tell me. I think this is where I differ from a lot of people with disability. So a lot of people with disability expect that when there are people with disability, they should get everything delivered to them. It's not like that. Because how will the world understand what problems you are facing? If you are on a wheelchair, I understand you need a ramp. But apart from that, I really cannot fully understand. So it is up to the person to make others aware. So I went and told my manager that I am not following what is being spoken in the meeting, and then I cannot attend phone call. So my manager said, all right, you don't attend phone calls. If you want to give a status update or something, you can speak on the phone, or you can write and you can share with your mother, and your mother will speak on your behalf. So I used to have a buddy assigned to me. Another person from team would volunteer and they would transcribe for me what went in meeting. Then I emailed my management and told them I need captions. So my management said they will work on it. It took them 6 to 8 months, but now I get captions for all the meetings. Then later we worked on launching the ERG so that we could actually go and hire people with disabilities. So I'm a part of an interview panel team. We go to job fairs for people with disabilities and we actively hire them. And then I have told my officers always been supportive on what kind of accessibilities I need. Like if I need this software or if I need that software, officers are always happy to explain that software. And then it allows me to travel to conferences to share my experience on the conference. Like last time, my office allowed me to travel to the ISTEM hackathon. So, from my colleagues' perspective, initially, my colleagues have no idea what is lip reading. And half of the people, like when I joined Symantec, nobody knew what is lip reading. And I did not tell everyone. I only told a few of my friends. And little by little, I began to sensitize my friends. And then now I don't have to sensitize anyone. If I talk to someone within 1 second, within an instant, they will understand and then they will write for me. But it took years of effort to sensitize them. And so there are a lot of people who say, Sandeep, this is inclusive. You are so lucky. It's not that I'm lucky, it's because I meant that inclusive thing. I'm in Symantec since 9 years, and since 9 years, every single day I do something for inclusion. And so a lot of people come and say, oh, everything is inclusive. It wasn't like that, honestly. So that's it. It is like I've always to, it is more like having an open, honest, and candid conversation with your manager, with your executive. Like the other day, I told my CEO that this is missing, and if you do this, it will be so inclusive. And CEO said, yes, Sandeep, you have a good point. So it is about step by step talking, communicating, bringing awareness, educating, on small to small, day-to-day basis. It goes on so that inclusion starts flowing in the blood. Inclusion shouldn't be a pizza topping. It should be like a pizza base that flows in the blood.
Exactly. Really nice to hear this. So now, Sandeep, I just wanted to understand, what would be your advice to the young generation coming up with disability, that how should they cope up? Because I have seen so many times, even now, people would hide their disabilities. They would not talk about it frankly, and most of the time they would be struggling within the society, given that all the gaps that has been created. So, what would be your piece of advice, given your huge experience being in corporate and formerly student, engineering student, and so on? What would you like to tell to these young folks?
So to the young folks, you are living in a time that is truly amazing because now the technology has advanced to such an amazing level that you really have a chance to be truly independent. And what's more, you also have the experience of you also have some experienced people with disabilities around you to guide you because what none of us had all these accessible facilities when we started, and we really don't want you to suffer, always suffer. We actually want that the road to you should be much better. We had a very bumpy road and we want the road for you to be as smooth as possible. But there will always be hiccups.
Right.
The world is never going to be perfect, never. So there will always be some people who will crave, who will complain.
Right.
So just turn a deaf ear to them. Like for example, the other day, if my wife says something, I just switch off my hearing aids. So it's quiet, it's very peaceful. We especially the people who are hard of hearing or who are using hearing aids, have a very God-given gift to switch off hearing aids. So when I wore my hearing aid, they were pocket hearing aid with corn dangling from my ear. And I mean, when I went out, so I come from a small place, but everyone knows everyone. And when I went out the first time, almost people stopped on the road to stare at me. The whole school was staring at me, the principal included. And I don't blame them because none of them has seen a hearing aid before. So it's okay, people must stop. You just don't bother. Your aim is to focus on your goal, not what the people say, what people stop, or what people do. As long as you pursue excellence, you will be valued. Whether you are a person with disability or without disability, if you pursue excellence, if you deliver value, if you create good things, if you create good output, you will always be valued. Because your work will always be before your disability. Before that, people used to call me like a deaf person, this, like Sandeep, acha, sunta naya, so many things. But as I began to deliver my work, my valuable things, my disability vanished. I did not have to do anything. It automatically vanished.
Right.
So that is how your young generation are. But the young generation gets angry too much. Why do you waste being angry? Why do you waste your emotions, your mental power on someone else, on shouting at someone else? If someone shouts at you, if someone says that you are like that, just ignore and move on. Focus your energy on being positive. There are only 24 hours in a day, and they are so lost. There's so much to learn, so much to do, so much to love, and 24 hours are very less. So focus on positivity, focus on being yourself. Years of us is truly excellent. Not only me, you are more good, you are much more better than me. So just focus your energy on being good, on doing good, on bringing value, and don't bother what the society says. The people who praise you, one day will also criticize you because life is a sine curve. What goes up comes down. We are born, we have to die. None of us is immortal. So one day we get praise, another day we get criticism. It's okay, be neutral, be cool, and just move on and move on. Continue, deliver an excellent. That's all.
Wow. Really nice, Sandeep. Thanks so much. So, another thing is that what about someone like you were earlier, right, who do not have professional computer science background and who want to enter into tech industry? What would be your advice to them? How do they learn on the job?
It's a very good question. And to be honest, if you want to work in a technical industry, if you want to work on computers, you really don't need any degree, neither in engineering nor BSc or any degree. You just need the ability to think. And in my first company, there were a lot of people. I mean, my CEO's driver, a car driver, he one day came and said that he wants to learn software, and I started programming. That's all. He began reading books day and night on programming, and he's now a senior engineer. He really has no education, no degree of anything. So computer for people with disability, a job in a tech industry is truly awesome. It allows them to be fairly independent. You don't even need a degree, but you need a passion. Now you don't necessarily have to be a programmer. You can be a graphic designer. You can be a script writer. You can be anything you want. But you have to pursue. You have to put some hours. You have to put hard work, effort, and hard and smart work both. Only hard work won't get you anywhere. So it should be a combination of hard and smart work. And then there is a company, I think, Joho. So I think that company called Joho Software, it is in Chennai. And that also takes people who don't have a formal engineering degree or something, then it trains them and then it places them. So there are not, I gave you two examples, there are a lot of examples for people who don't have a engineering or a computer science degree, or people from not so economically well families, even they also have options there. So please, in the current scenario, do not be disappointed. If you have a passion, just pursue it. You are going to be successful.
For sure, for sure. Another thing is that one question comes to my mind, like in the beginning, you did hide your disability. I just wanted to understand that how should we become, even though we know the kind of response we get from society when we disclose our disability, how should we get more confidence in terms of talking about and being proud of what we are and disclosing our disability, regardless of what people do think about us?
Uh, what a good question, Shakul. And very relevant. So, I begin this question by answering if you want to bring about some changes in the country, or if you want to be like if you want to be a chief minister, if you want to be something like that, then you have to enter into politics. Correct? You can't say politics in math. If you want to change the system, you have to first enter the system, only then you can change it. From outside the system, you cannot change the system. So I had my disability for the first 4 rounds. The technical panel was fully aware of my disability, only the HR wasn't aware. So I had my disability to gain entry, but as soon as I was inside and as soon as I got a chance, I told the HR in the very first moment that I'm a person with hearing impairment. The thing is that if you say everything that saying, I don't know, in Hindi there is a quotation, it's a very old quotation, that don't open your thumb, keep your thumb closed. If you open your thumb, everyone will get to know the treasures you have. So there is no clear-cut answer. At some situations, it helps to disclose your disability, but on some situations, it helps to hide your disability. So it is more about the context and the situation. If you find in the first instance that the people are really empathetic and inclusive, be totally open about your disability. Like I told everyone. But if you find that the situation is not that conducive, be prudent, have your disability for some time, find one person who is inclusive, and then tell that person, and then using that person, you drive inclusion. Because otherwise, it's more like if you want to get the work done, you have to find the right person. So you have to wait to disclose your disability until you find the right person. Once you feel you found the right person, disclose your disability, and then the right person will take care of telling the whole thing. So that is how you move. Hiding is never a good sign, but for some time you have to hide until the road becomes clear. Otherwise, you will be blocked in the start itself.
Right, right, right. I wanted to hear a little more about the organization that you founded, Sandeep, and how you are helping people with
Exactly.
disability through that organization.
Shakul, can you repeat the question?
Sure. I was saying, I wanted to understand more about the organization you founded and how you are helping people with disability through your organization.
Okay. So last year in December, we went to a job. Last year in December, we traveled from Pune to Chennai.
Mhm.
In Chennai, there was a job fair for people with disability. It was Employability Job Fair by Ability Foundation in Chennai. So we interviewed a lot of people with disabilities, and then we shortlisted a few candidates.
Mhm.
Then the candidates were asked to come to our Chennai office for further rounds of interview,
Right.
and then we made an offer to a candidate.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now the candidate also has a hearing impairment like I have. And so what I did was I connected with his manager. I told his manager that the candidate is lip reading, that he should be able to deliver all his work. I sensitized his team members, and recently he had some issues. So as a part of ERG, we work to sensitize the manager and also sensitize the people with disabilities themselves. Sometimes it's like people expect people with disabilities expect everything to be delivered to them on a platter. That is not the right way.
Correct.
So inclusion is not the society has to make steps towards the people with disability. Inclusion is a two-way step. People with disabilities also have to take the first step. The society also takes the step simultaneously, and that's how it happens. And then we sponsored cricket for the blind. So there was a small town in Gujarat, and they're organizing even blind cricket. And then they said they are looking for funds. Then we sponsor a lot of organizations in Mumbai who are looking for sponsorship funds. So the EIJ works on a lot of things from training, making like what are accessible, like in the organization of some people are having some issues with accessibility. We help them with that as well. So it's a lot of work on that.
Really nice, really nice. Thanks so much, Sandeep. Now, I would like to open the floor for the audience. Enough of me asking so many questions. I think I've bombarded a lot of questions on Sandeep. And thanks so much, Sandeep, for answering all my questions so patiently. Now, the floor is open for audience. If you want to ask any question, you can either unmute yourself or you can write it up on the chat box. And Cheryl will read out for the rest of the audience. So guys, if you have any questions, you can ask directly to Sandeep.
Hey, Sandeep, this is Karthik here. I had a quick question. So you briefly talked about your experience in education and in employment. And you also briefly touched upon, how AI can help with captioning and, making captioning better, whether that is improving the accuracy of speech recognition systems or that is using something like a Google Glass. I'm just trying to understand, is there anything other than that, specifically in education and employment, more around the pedagogy, right? More around how a person who is deaf or hard of hearing can access educational resources. Do you have any thoughts on how, other than, let's say, captioning, can education and employment be made more inclusive and accessible for someone who has a hearing impairment?
So now how like for the people you mean for people with disabilities other than hearing impairment?
No, I mean for people with disabilities who might have a hearing impairment, other than captioning, is there anything else, whether that is technological or not, that can help with their education or employment as they go through that, right? So whether that means that teachers being more sensitized, of course, is one thing, right? Are there other things like that, other than speech recognition, that you think can simplify education and employment for people with hearing impairment? Other ideas that you might have on that?
When I start, so I have a few dear friends who rely entirely on sign language. So I think there are three categories of people in hearing impairment. One is me who relies on captions. I don't use sign language, but I know the basics of sign language. Then there's another set of people. Who rely entirely on sign languages. And they don't use captions. They use the interpreter like Adam is there. They will only look at Adam and see what Adam is speaking and what Adam is interpreting. So I think something like that. In India, getting an interpreter for the Iman is really, there's so much lack of awareness on interpreting. I rely on captions, but half of the deaf population, they rely entirely on the Indian Sign Language. And then the sign language has a number of variations. So like the sign language in Delhi and the sign language in Bangalore might have a small minor variation. So this interpreting is something that when I went to USA, I was just attending a casual event of my cousin, and then there were sign language interpreters there. In the Ashtam event today, there is an interpreter. But how many events in colleges or how many like some contest and anything there and they have interpreter, something like that. So that interpreter is something that needs to be there. And then if we have an app or something like that that could convert the spoken text to an I mean the spoken text to interpreting, like whatever you are speaking, it's just automatically transcribed to ISL sign language. That would be really great, I think. And the third thing is that it's something that what iSTEM is already doing. It is doing like domain-specific subtitling. So none of neither Google App Transcribe nor Auto nor any app is good when it comes to technical terms. Like for engineering terms, this app will not be accurate. So for engineering terms, I think iSTEM is doing a lot of domain-specific subtitling. So that comes to my mind.
Okay.
Great, that's very helpful. Thank you, Sandeep.
Anyone else? Other questions? It's a good opportunity, guys, to ask your questions to Sandeep.
Hi, Sandeep. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm Arun from Chennai. Your story was very much inspiring for me. My question is, I want to know whether any software is available which takes video as input and the caption as output.
Yes, yes. So I spoke about this app called OTTER or WTER. So on that Autoresta, it has a very nice user interface. So if you upload a video to it, and then you can download the captions of the video. Definitely it's there.
Thank you.
Cheryl, do you see any question in the chat box?
No, there's no question in chat box.
Anyone else, guys, who might have a question and want to ask right now? Okay, I think it seems no questions. So once again, Sandeep, thank you so much for taking out the time. And I know that today was a special occasion for you, and still you considered my request and came on to join this call on a very short notice period of time. Thank you so much for taking out your time and sharing your amazing experience with all of us. I think not only people are on the call right now would be hearing you, but the recordings of this session would be available. So others who could not have joined today will be able to watch and listen to through this session. Thank you so much for taking your time and coming to
Thank you, Shakul.
inaugurate our first ever webinar.
Thank you, Shakul. And it's all right. I'm more than happy to help iSTEM in any way I can. Anytime, even 1 minute notice is fine for me. Thank
This
you.
is so nice of you. So nice of you, Sandeep. Thank you so much. Cheryl, you can stop the recording.
Bye.